all. Yesterday's and day before yesterday's class, we have seen about the animal tissue. We have started the animal tissue and we have learned about the epithelial tissue in the animals. Now, in today's class, we have to learn about the muscle tissue in the animals. So, there are four kinds of tissue in the introduction class of the animal tissue. I have said already there are four kinds of animal tissues, namely muscle tissue, epithelial tissue, connective tissue, and nervous tissue. So epithelial tissue we have already seen. I hope it is clear for you. Now, next one is the muscle tissue. The muscle tissue is generally long, narrow, and elongated. It is long, it is narrow, and it is elongated. Since it is long and bigger in size, that's why this tissue are also called as muscle fibers. This tissue are also known as muscle fibers. M-U-S-C-L-E, muscle fibers. This tissue are also called as muscle fibers. Now, when we are talking about the muscle tissue, we need to learn about one thing, that what makes this muscle tissue very much special. The muscle tissue is very much special because it can contract and relax. It can contract and that too it can relax also. Now, when we have said this, that it can contract as well as it can relax, means surely there is something present in the muscle which is allowing the muscle to do so. Now, there are two kinds of protein present in the muscle, actin and myosin. Actin and myosin. There are two kinds of protein present in the muscle. These are known as muscle proteins, that is actin and myosin. These actin and myosin allows the muscle to contract and relax. The majority of the protein myosin is present in the muscle. Apart from this, when we will talk about different kinds of muscle tissue, there are three kinds of muscle tissues, namely striated or voluntary, unstriated or involuntary, and cardiac. Striated means voluntary, unstriated involuntary, and cardiac muscle. Now, before going to the technical part, before going to the different types of muscle and the technical parts of it, let us have a small introduction of muscles. So, as far as you are knowing, that I have said already that there are two kinds of proteins present, namely actin and myosin. I am writing it for you also here. Actin and myosin, M-Y-O-S-I-N, myosin. Actin and myosin, these are two kinds of protein present, allowing the muscle to contract and relax. And since these are skeletal muscles, and since the muscles which are skeleton, means muscles which are added or which are having a joining with the skeleton system, those muscles are known as skeletal muscles, which are directly joining to the bones, are having this protein in majority, which allows the muscle to contract and relax. Apart from this, the muscles are having fibers also, which makes the muscles very much tender as well as flexible. Tender means don't think that tender here means weak. Here, tender means the muscles are having more flexibility, tenderness, softness is there. But at the same time, though they are soft, but they are very much strengthened. With this note, we will enter the first topic of the day, that is the striated muscle. After having a brief introduction on muscle, let us go and enter with the first topic of the day, that is the striated muscle. Now, the striated muscle is generally long, narrow. These are long and narrow. As well as these striated muscles are having bands. You can see that here I have made rings kind of structure. These rings kind of structures are actually the dark bands. So the first property of the striated muscle is that they are long and they are having the rings. They are long, narrow, and they are having these kind of rings. This kind of ring shows that they are having dark band, and this white part is showing that they are having white bands also. That's why they are known as striated muscle, because they are striated. Striated means they are having alternating arrangement of dark and the white bands. Dark band, then white band, then again dark band, then again white band, again dark, again white, then again dark band, again white band. So alternate arrangement of the dark and the white band makes them striated muscle. Now, why they are striated? Because they are having alternating arrangement of the dark and the white bands. Now, striated muscle is also known as voluntary muscles. Why they are known as voluntary muscles? Because they are in our own will. For example, I want to throw this pen. It is in my will. For example, I want to walk. I will walk with my leg. I want to swim. If I want to swim, then only I will swim. Otherwise, no one can make me to do so. I have to swim means it is in my will. It is in my will. It is in my control. I have to cycle. I can take my cycle and I can go out. It is in my control. It is in my will. The muscles, the movement of the muscles which is in our will, that is known as voluntary muscle or striated muscle. Especially the muscle of legs, arms, breathing also. I'm not talking about respiration. I'm saying about breathing. Sometimes we can hold our breath also. So by doing so, we can adjust or we can justify the things that yes, that these muscles are in our will. We can control it by our own. We need not require other organ to control it. I hope it's clear to you. Now, these muscles are long and narrow. Now we will go to the technical part of this muscle. The muscles, generally each and every muscle is having one sarcolemma. I have written here, over here, sarcolemma. What is sarcolemma? Sarcolemma is actually a plasma membrane in which the muscle fibers resides, in which the muscle fiber stays. That is sarcolemma. Please note it. Sarcolemma is the plasma membrane, is the covering of the muscle fiber. First thing. Secondly, when we are talking about myofibril, what are myofibril? Myofibril are the finest fiber present in the muscle. Myofibril are the finest fiber present in the muscles. Now, sarcomere. What are sarcomere? Sarcomere is the functional unit of the myofibril. If myofibril is present without sarcomere, then myofibril cannot function. It is the functional unit. Sarcomere is the functional unit of the myofibril. So, sarcolemma is the plasma membrane in which the muscle fiber resides. Myofibrils are the finest fibers present in the muscles. Sarcomere is the functional unit of the myofibril, which helps the myofibril to function. Now, one more point is there, that is known as sarcoplasm. Sarcoplasm. This sarcoplasm is present in especially in the striated muscle, and it is the plasma membrane. It is the plasma membrane of the striated muscle or the voluntary muscle. Striated muscle is also known as voluntary muscle because it is under our will. Since why it is voluntary? Because it is in our will. And why it is striated? Because it is having dark and white bands. Dark band, this black color, and alternate arrangement of the dark and the white band. See, dark band, white band, again dark band, again white band, dark band, white band. So you can say dark band, light band also, or dark band, white band also, we can say it. So alternating arrangement of the dark and the white band. Now, so I hope it's clear to you. Next one is the unstriated muscles. Now, before going to unstriated muscles, let us have a final touch in this striated muscle. In the striated muscles, what happens? These muscles are unbranched. These muscles are generally unbranched. These are not branched properly. These are unbranched muscles because of their shape. Since they are long and narrow shape, so there is no particular connection. These muscles are generally unbranched. Now, I hope it is understood that why they are striated and why we are calling it as voluntary muscle. Voluntary because it is under our will, and why it is striated because it is having alternating arrangement of dark and the light bands. Now, next is the unstriated muscle. Unstriated muscles are the muscles which are long and spindle in shape. Why spindle? Because both sides it is pointed. See, at the top also it is pointed, at the bottom also it is pointed. Again at the top it is pointed, again at the bottom also it is pointed. And it is having nucleus present over here where I am making this black dots. Unstriated muscles means involuntary muscles, muscles which is not in our control. Involuntary muscles means muscles which is not in our control, like the muscles of the muscles in the stomach, muscles of the alimentary canal, muscles in our lungs. It is not in our control. They functions whenever our body requires it. They will only function whenever our body requires it. If our body does not require anything to do by the involuntary muscles or the unstriated muscles, it won't be functioning. Now, why the name unstriated? Because it does not have dark and light bands like the striated muscle. Striated muscles can contract and relax very easily, but unstriated muscles takes some time to contract, and once it is contracted, it will be for longer time. It will be contracted for a longer time, for a longer period of time, and then slowly it will be relaxing. Means the functioning of striated muscle is faster as compared to the function of the unstriated muscles. But unstriated muscle is not in our will. It is involuntary muscle. It will only function when the body needed to do so. When the body is needed to do so. So I hope unstriated muscle is clear, because it is not having unstriated muscle. Why unstriated muscle? Because it is not having any dark and light bands like the striated muscles. So I hope this thing is clear to you. Now, next one is the cardiac muscle. Cardiac muscle is the mixture of unstriated and striated. Now, people may ask that why it is so? Why it is the mixture of unstriated and striated? How can we say the cardiac muscle? From the name itself, we can infer the meaning that this muscle is present in the heart. Then how you can say that this cardiac muscle is the mixture of striated and unstriated? It is so because when we will have a minute look in the cardiac muscle, we can find that it is having striations. It is also having dark and light bands. But its function is like unstriated muscle. Looking like striated muscle, looking like voluntary muscles, but functions like unstriated muscles, involuntary muscles. How? When we will have a clear look in it, we can find the presence of dark and the light bands which is present in the striated muscles. Same dark and light band is present in the cardiac muscle. And at the same time, what happens when the cardiac muscles functions? It is functioning like involuntary muscles, because heart is functioning for us. Not even a single time the heart is stopping. If heart stops, then the people will stop. Then people will die. Of course. There is no other way. If heart stops, the person stops. If heart stops functioning, person stops living. So what happens? It is looking like striated muscle. Cardiac muscle looking like striated muscle, having dark and light bands, but functioning just like involuntary muscles continuously. Continuously it will function. Not for even a single second the function will stop. Now, striated muscles, due to excess of activity, may get tired and needs rest. Involuntary or unstriated muscles never gets tired and continues functioning. Similarly, cardiac muscle also holds the property of unstriated muscle, that it will never get tired. Continuously it is functioning. Then what makes the cardiac muscle more special? The presence of intercalated discs. Intercalated discs. The intercalated discs present in the cardiac muscle makes it very much special. Why? Because these intercalated discs which is present in the cardiac muscles separates one tissue of the muscle from the other tissue, and thereby allowing the functioning of the cardiac muscle very much efficient. With more efficiency, the cardiac muscle will function. Why? Because this intercalated disc separates the tissue of the cardiac muscle. And since we all know the cardiac muscle is present in the heart, it is never tiring and it is continuously 24/7 it is functioning. This intercalated disc is playing a very major role because it is not allowing the tissues to come together. The tissues present in the muscles of the cardiac will be separated by the intercalated discs. So I hope it's clear to you. Please go through the text, match it with the video and study properly about the muscle tissues.